This is for the Certificate for Illustration class to show you how to put your beautiful drawings that you've done of your playing cards into Illustrator and make a beautiful illustrated drawing of it. Okay, so we're going to create new. So open Illustrator and create a new document. Now you want to make sure it's print and A4. If all your presets aren't showing, there is a show all presets button if you can't find this. But in the end, it doesn't matter what page size because we can change it anyway. So an A4 one is okay, and a print document. Those are the two things. Now over here, if your screen's not looking like this and you can't find the tools, go up here and reset it. So I've just put it on Essentials Classic, and then I can add any extra tools that I need. So if you've got a bit of a mess over here with all sorts of stuff because you've been working, just reset it to this. That's fine. And then realize that if you need any other ones, and if you can't find something, that all of your tabs are here. So if you need something like color or swatches or stroke, they're all going to be here, and if you click on them it'll bring up that particular item. Yeah, so it'll pull it out, so you're never lost for them. So let's just go to that layers one, however, either through here or through window, and we're going to just get used to how to work in layers. Some of you already know, so that's great. So what we want to do is call this our background layer. Background. And we're not going to do any drawing on that. What we are going to do, however, is place your illustration on it. To do that, go to the File, Place, and then navigate to your drawing. Now you might have gotten that digitized it by taking a photo, which is all I did on the phone. So on my phone I took a photo of my drawing. So that works quite well if you haven't been able to use a scanner. So once you've got it in there, you can scale it to whatever size you need, but then you're going to lock it. Before we do that, we're just going to double click on the little layer icon, and we're going to dim the image a little bit. And what that does, it just makes it easier to see your drawing. This is a particularly good thing to do if you're trying to trace a photograph which says, and you only want part of it. It's a lot of detail. So the next step is to lock that base layer so it won't move, and then create a new layer for your artwork. And I'm going to call this Face Base because I'm going to tackle the base of her face first before I do anything else. So zoom up, Apple Plus, get really close in on your drawing, then use the spacebar key to move around while you're zoomed up. I could even go one further just so I can really see what I'm doing. It's Command Plus to zoom in. So we can't accidentally be on that layer, we're on this layer, and we're going to start tracing. So I can look at that stroke and think, well, maybe that's not a great face colour. And it's also confusing to have a fill, so I would always say no fill. Click, this one is a stroke, that when you bring it forward, that's what you've got selected, is a stroke. Come over here and I'm going to check a colour that's a little bit more conducive to, hopefully, to a face-ish colour. Okay, maybe that's closer. Then I'm going to get the pen tool and I'm going to just quickly trace around the head, bearing in mind that all the other objects are going to get layered on top of this. So I'm only trying to get the actual base of the face. And I might, if I've got a great drawing, I might not improve on it, but if my drawing's a bit rough, as I'm doing this, I might make some improvements and so on. So I'm going to trace around it, and crucially, I've got to join it. Now, or hit enter to stop tracing. Now I can adjust anything I need to by going to the direct selection tool, which is the white one. So if I'm not happy about the position of a point, I can move it around, push and pull it, But if it's the actual curve I need to change, then I can push and pull it around like that. If I feel like a point is not quite right, I can also go back and change it using this anchor point tool. And if I want a hard point, which I don't, but if I did accidentally have a hard point, I can click on it and drag to turn it back into a soft point. Click to make it a hard point, drag to make it a soft point. So once I'm happy with my face shape, I could now just go and fill it with that colour and go back to my layers. And what I want to do is lock that base because I don't want it to move, but also to hide it. So the next thing I'm going to do is have a look at, again, just get no fill before you start and maybe choose a better colour. This time I'm doing her hair. So I want a sort of more chocolatey brown colour, that'll do. Go back and get my normal pen tool and I'm just going to, get my normal pen tool. I don't know what it's doing with that. Sorry, not that one, that one. Oh, okay, that little symbol, why is that happening? That's because I'm trying to trace on a layer that's locked. Oh, well, that's a good way to show you that. So that'll happen. You won't be able to do anything if you're on a locked layer. So the idea of locking and hiding that layer, I can't do anything because, you know what, I've got to make a new layer. Yeah, so we want to leave that one alone and not do anything more to it, and then make a new layer on top of it, and we'll call that, double click, and call that hair. And that's the active layer we're going to trace on. This one I can hide because I don't need it right now. So now you should find your pen tool works. Yes, it does. Okay, so now I'm going to sort of roughly go around and give her a proper good case of helmet hair. And drag if you want curve, but you can click on that point and change directions if you need to change directions, as I do there. Because I want a kind of a sharp, a drag to get the curve, click on the end point to get that kind of thing happening. Click on the end point again. Just one click if I want it sharp. Click on the end point to change directions. So anytime I just click, I'll get a hard point and click back on that point that you just made to make it behave as though it's a nice sharper bit. So it's supposed to be like a bit of hair coming down here. I'm improvising now. Now, the great thing about this is that if I hate what I've done, I can always go back and get a particular point and massage it and pull it around or even delete it. And if it's still not working for me, I've got the option to add or delete points. So I can click on a point and just delete it. Don't think we want a flat head there. Quite often what you might end up doing is adding a point where you find it's not quite working for you. You know, so you can always add a point. So use that direct selection tool, the white arrow, to muck around and get the shape right. So now she's got a square head, so I probably need to fix that curve in some way. Yes, that's a bit better. And when I'm happy with it, again, get to fill it, and then I can turn on my base and I can see what I've got now. So then you would repeat the same process again, make a new layer, and for example, this layer could be lips. Okay, and you know, we want to turn these visibility off. So again, we can just trace on that. Make sure I've got the normal pen tool and I'm on the layer that's not locked. And you know, you can always go in closer again, Apple Plus, if you need more detail. So if I need a little bit more detail to finesse the lips because they're a little bit trickier, just zoom in. And you can see how annoying it is to have it with a fill. So, you know, this has happened because I forgot to turn the fill off. So always turn that fill off so you can see what I've got. And so I've kind of got too many hard points there, so that's when you can always come back and change them, because that should have been, you know, a nice soft curve and So I should have that, yeah? So you can muck around with it. So that's a hard point, just drag it to change it to a soft point. If it's gotten tangled on itself, you can get the ends and untangle it and so on. And I've got myself into a proper tangle here. In fact, I would probably delete that point. I might just have another go at that. I'll start again, because that's not working at all. So you can see with these details, I really probably should come in even closer. So don't be afraid to come in closer as you need it to get those more delicate shapes. And of course I'm working with quite a big stroke on this, so you could make it a thinner stroke when you're trying to do details. So yeah, so something like that. It's looking a bit strange, but we know it should be sort of lip coloured, and then we can then go and fill it. And I would do the bottom, I would probably approach the click off it. That's another thing. When you get a bit frustrated when you've still got things selected, click away to deselect them. Then I would go back and on the same layer, because it really, it doesn't deserve its own layer, it's all part of this one, I would have a go at that bottom lip now. So you can see if you spend a bit more time on the actual drawing, you'll get a better result. And my crazy leaving the fill in, so it really doesn't help you to do that. However, I can still come back and sort of fix that bottom lip a bit. Okay, so it's getting there, and I could spend time just fiddling with it to make it look more like a lip. Of course, you'll do that. I'm running out of time. And then, of course, you can fill it and whatever. And they're two separate objects. I could still move them around, and I could play around with that corner to get it right, and so on. And I will go over in a separate tutorial putting on some lovely gradients. So we don't need to stay flat with this. We can use some gradients to give it a bit more colour. But I think that should be enough to sort of keep you going, to get you into the technique. And you can see it's quite time consuming. But by the end of it, you're really, after you've done one card, you realise actually I'm mastering this tool. I'm getting really good at this. And we still even haven't covered the curve tool. But I wouldn't use the curve tool unless you've got a spiral or something really supposed to be a curve. Otherwise, just get used to tracing, and we're after the minimum number of points. We don't want ... So I think that's enough, and I'll be talking to you face to face hopefully soon.